That's an emotional experience, and it's especially emotional for our astronauts who depended on that shuttle for their lives.
One last flight for the Space Shuttle Discovery, a craft that made history with many Purdue astronauts aboard. Good evening, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Dan Klein. It's tough to believe, but before the creation of the internet, before commercial use of the cell phone, the United States had a spacecraft that could take astronauts into outer space and safely home. Almost 30 years later, Discovery makes its final journey. It was a much smaller trip from Florida to Washington, D.C., where it will go on display at the Smithsonian Museum. The Space Shuttle Discovery took off horizontally, not vertically, Monday morning. Instead of this familiar liftoff, it was atop a 747. It doesn't take long to see Purdue's effect on Discovery, looking closely at the two-story monument to Boilermaker astronauts inside the Dauch Alumni Center. Purdue astronaut Charles Walker flew on Discovery's first mission in 1984.
It was an amazing piece of not only American history, but world history.
Purdue historian John Norberg says the history making doesn't end there. More than 2 years after 7 astronauts died in the Challenger disaster, Discovery flew America's first mission back to space in 1988.
Dick Covey was on that flight, and a very important part of it. Discovery launched the Hubble Space Telescope, which again has opened the universe to us.
Purdue grad Lawrence Shriver commanded that mission. In all, Discovery made 39 missions to space, traveling more than 148 million miles. Monday ushers in a new era. Discovery will go on display at the Smithsonian, replacing the Shuttle Enterprise, which is headed to a New York City museum.
It's very important that people have a chance to see these pieces of history. This is history, and we need to preserve them for future generations. It's not big at all. It's a very confined space, and there were 7 people flying on these things.
Norberg says it's hard to imagine, but the history of manned space travel goes back barely 51 years. The space shuttle has been around for more than half of it, more than 30 years. And now that craft is outdated, and it's time to retire, ending an era of space travel. But just like any other era, like horse and buggy or telegraph, it's time to give way to something better.
People need to continue to explore. We've only just begun to explore the universe, and this is not the time to stop.
Last July, Shuttle Atlantis made the final flight of the Space Shuttle program. That will go on display at the Visitor Center at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The Space Shuttle Endeavour will fly to the California Science Center in Los Angeles in the fall.